Welcome to Muscular Minds Podcast, where we want to build mental toughness and resilience for you, your family, your faith, and your future. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, welcome into Muscular Minds. I'm your host, Jared Dane. Good to have you today. What is a muscular mind? So it's specifically focusing on mental confidence, mental toughness, mental resilience, things that I think we desperately need in our time. And so part of this podcast, and you can always check out not just that, but our blogs and our books and our swag on muscularminds.com, and you can get additional resources there. This video blog, we're going to really focus on different things that are really challenging at times and hard. And we're going to talk to the people that do them or coach them or are them so that we can kind of get some of their wisdom and discernment, because it's very important to be able to hold up and be mentally strong when we're talking about over the course of our lifespan, whether we are single, married, together with others, parenting, job. Things are very hard throughout the course of our life. Some of us face so many obstacles from a health standpoint, just from maybe a financial hardship that we're going through, a personal hardship. The list is endless. Every person has their unique list of problems that they are going through. And what I have noticed is we are more isolated, more to ourselves, more lonely than ever. And we've talked about that on previous audio podcasts, if you want to check that on our website. But it's just one of those things where it's important to realize what we all need. And that is that we need to really steel our minds, get tougher, stronger, so that we can really hold up against things that are kind of crowding in around us at times. So this podcast is meant to be a source of encouragement, motivation, education for you, discernment, wisdom, things that you can maybe get you to over the hump sometimes. So we're going to really focus on those things. And so we're going to do a little back to school series. We're going to have a couple of folks on here that are really going to help us get ready, as some of us are either going back to school in the workforce, or our kids are going back to school, or as parents, we're just trying to kind of catch up. So that is what we're going to focus on these next couple of podcasts. And I'm excited to get that started for us. It's kind of a back to school event. And we have Shayla RWS here. She is a track and cross country coach at Troy ISD in Troy, Texas, and all kinds of exciting accolades with her. Not only was she an athlete in college, collegiate athlete, but she also has been Coach of the Year in 2022 and 2024. So she has a lot of wisdom that we want to get today from her. And if you don't know anything about Muscular Minds, we're about mental resilience, confidence, overcoming difficult things, learning from others. And today we want to talk about just anything regarding running is super challenging for some of us. Even those that we were athletic. I played high school sports, but that doesn't mean I want to take off running for 4 miles. So I have Shayla here today, and I'm going to let her just get started, introduce herself, then we'll kind of dive.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jared. So my name's Shayla RWS. I am a graduate of Troy High School and then came back to work in my alma mater, which is extremely fulfilling in a lot of ways. I ran at Abilene Christian University. I did cross country and track while I was there, and just absolutely loved it. It was a great couple of years doing that. Always knew I wanted to be a coach, knew that I wanted to create athletes that have strong mental mindset. So this is a perfect podcast for me.
I'm excited. So I guess just the easy thing would be, before we get into the mental fitness side of it, is what are just the benefits of just becoming passionate about running or physical fitness? Because I know most of us don't want to do any of those things. Running sounds hard. Being physically fit sounds hard. But I think it's like New Year's resolutions. We all want to get fit, but it's nothing that sounds easy. So what would you say about falling in love with running?
So there's a lot of benefits to running. And I've actually done quite a few lectures on the different types of runners that I see in high school. And the more you understand, especially with high school students, why would they run cross country? The better you understand that, the more you can tailor the benefits to those kids. So this is totally my personal opinion, but I believe it and I stand by it 100%. There's 4 reasons why kids run cross country in high school. One of them is because it's like running is life, run or die. This is my absolute favorite thing to do. I would say that's 1% of the kids that I have. I would say that's probably 1% of the population on the planet really just enjoys running to run. Second reason is because their friends do it. And so one of the things I'll talk about quite a bit is going to be community within running and the benefits of that. Third reason why kids run cross country in high school is because they're getting ready for other sports. So there's kids that play soccer, or there's that kid that plays softball. I even have kids that are power lifters that want to try to cut a little bit of weight before powerlifting season. So they're there to get the reps in, get the cardio in, and that's why they're there, why they're checking that box. And then the last one, my favorite one, is my mom makes me. I'm not kidding you. There are plenty of kids that are like, I don't want to be here, but my mom makes me. So take that as a coach. You have a team full of those 4 kinds of runners, maybe even mixed, like my mom is making me, but my friends are here. How do you get all of those kids to reach their potential? And this is where the benefits come in. This is where you have to know, what are the benefits to running? So obviously, number one is the health aspect of it. So running, especially long distance running, cardiovascular health, there's thousands of studies about why that is so incredibly crucially important. Even if you get into running as a sprint, sprinting is the fastest way to gain muscle. It is the best form of strength training. And there is a direct correlation to how strong your muscles are to your longevity of life. In fact, I just read a study about hamstring strength. How strong your hamstrings are directly correlates to how long you'll live.
That's a random muscle group study.
Right. There's also one on grip strength. So grip strength also is directly related to health. Anyway, so the health aspect of running is clearly there. The community aspect of running is also a great benefit. And I'm sure I'll talk about this more later, but just being immersed in a community of people that are all doing the same thing, maybe not even in the same stage of life, but just all enjoy the same activity. That's a wonderful benefit for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why running is great is the mental toughness side of it. So I'm sure we'll touch on that quite a bit as well, but developing mental toughness before you run, while you're running, if you're in competition or if you're not in competition, what do I need to do outside of running to better prepare me to do well while I'm running? What foods do I need to put into my body? That kind of goal setting and mental toughness, honing in on what I need to do in order to be successful. That's a long skill that you can develop over your lifetime. Something that you probably can't develop immediately, but it takes work to do it. And so running is great for that. For me, a benefit of running is I am a highly competitive person. I like to be in competition with other people. That is something that is valuable to me. And as you get older in age, you can't just go play rec league basketball anymore if you don't want to pay for a new ACL. Running is one of those things that you can do and still be competitive well into. I know people that run in their 80s and go run 5Ks and try to win their age division. So that's a huge benefit for me. For others as well. It also can be therapeutic, whether you're running alone or with others. I could go on and on, but running is super, super beneficial. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of it.
I really like some of those answers. I just want to hit on the community one. I was thinking about that because I work with kids and families a lot, and so community and identity is really important. We had another guest, a superintendent, on another podcast talking about how kids are forming their identity. And I think when I'm thinking about running and I want to be in a group, that's kind of like who I'm trying to we have a group thing going here, an identity. We're all doing this hard thing together. And one of the things that I think is really good when we're talking about doing hard things is when we do them together with others. And so hard things are more difficult to do when we're by ourselves. I'm thinking back former days when I would take kids on mission trips and we'd have a hard task to do. But if there's 20 of us doing it, then all of a sudden we can get that done. And so I think
Right.
the community aspect is a big thing when it comes to just the running, it sounds.
Yes, a community is essential. As a coach, when I structure my practices, I always have community in mind. Sometimes I tell kids when we go out on a run that they need to run with someone else for safety reasons. And although that is true, it also is more than just that. Because when I am taking one step in front of the other and I'm running 10 miles, I am more likely to stop if my feet are the only ones hitting the ground. If there is somebody next to me that is taking the same number of steps as I am, who is getting the same mileage in as me, I can't stop because then they have to stop. And so there's a huge benefit to running together and like you said, doing something difficult together in a community, having that mental toughness together. Running can sometimes be really lonely and viewed as an individual sport, but I think it is much better suited for a community to be a
I
part of.
think I think I always thought of it as an individual sport, which is probably one of the reasons I wasn't as excited. I wanted to be in a team sport. I wanted to play basketball,
Right.
baseball, football. And I think as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing I may have missed out on an opportunity to one of the best team sports where we're all encouraging each other, running, racing, competing. And I don't think I ever really understood it to be such a group activity as it is.
I'll tell you what, if you've ever been to a cross country meet, if you've never been, I highly encourage that you go. It is a different world. You can step into a cross country meet and you hear people cheering for everyone. It is such a positive environment. We have kids that will finish their race, come back and cheer on their teammates to the finish line. We have kids that will finish their race, go back and cheer on whoever is in last. It's not like other sports where you don't cheer for the other team that you're going against. It is very much we are all running the same distance and we're going to help each other get there. Very rarely do you see, especially in cross country, do you see negative things occurring. It's all just very, very positive, very encouraging. And that right there, I think, shows high schoolers and middle schoolers the value of a community, the value of cheering for others, the value of working hard for your team, coming back and supporting your team. I could go on and on. Cross country it's just a beautiful thing. So it's a different kind of sport. It's great.
No, I think that's really helpful to hear that. And I guess I'm just with all of the team stuff and the different dynamics and the different reasons people are even running. As a coach, how do you keep them motivated, kind of getting the most out of them? Because I know in other sports, it's kind of trying to squeeze that last little bit of energy or juice out of that team to get them to the win or the victory. How do you do that in running and cross country?
So once again, in my world, there's 4 kinds of runners. And so every workout I make for kids, every practice that we have, I keep that in mind. How do I get the most out of someone who doesn't want to be here? How do I get the most out of someone who only wants to run with their friends, but I need them to run by themselves today? How do I still provide what my elite level runners need while still providing what all of these other runners need? It's really, really difficult. And so one of the things that I have to do is look at every single workout and go, all right, what do I need to get out of these 4 kinds of kids today? When we walk away from this practice, how do I know that I have maximized their potential? And that looks different for all 50 of my kids in my program. Does it take a long time for me to really think about how many 800s does this kid need to do? What does this kid's long run look like? How many miles is a long run for each of these kids? But once you figure out why are they here and how can I get stuff out of you? How can I maximize your potential and show you how beneficial it is to maximize your potential? Once I figure that out, I tailor to their needs. So cross country is kind of cool because we start practice before school starts. So I have maybe not more hours in the day, but I have more flexibility to be able to do different kinds of activities with these kids once we start. Um, we will go run somewhere maybe a little further down the road. I'll take them on a bus, and then we go eat pancakes afterwards. The kid that doesn't want to be there works hard for pancakes.
I
And
would work hard for pancakes.
that's what I'm saying, right? Everybody works hard for pancakes, right? So like I've got to think, okay, it's been a while since we've done something like that. Or I know this kid will work hard if I bring watermelon or popsicles or whatever it is. Sometimes we go run in Salado or we go run in Belton at the creek, and I'm like, y'all go get in the creek. I mean, if that's what you need to work hard today, then okay.
Make it fun.
So yes, I try to make it as fun as I can, and I try to say, like it's almost like a bargaining system. Like, all right, you do this, you don't realize it, but you're getting better as a human. But do this, and then I'll reward you with something that you're interested in or something that you like, or we'll go get snow cones or whatever it is. Yeah.
I'm beginning to see, Shayla, why maybe you were the coach a year, 2 different times. Caring about the kids at that level on an individual basis, trying to make something like running fun and creative, tailoring things to individual need is awesome. And so that's pretty amazing that keeping them motivated like that. I do kind of want to shift it and think about like running is making not just us physically fit, but mentally fit. And so maybe talk a minute about how much running is making someone mentally fit and resilient.
Um, running is not fun, and I'm allowed to say that because I've run many,
We
many
can agree on
miles.
that. And I
It,
love sports. I just don't want to
I
run.
love sports. Running is not fun. It is not fun. And so, I try to make it fun, but it's still, I mean, you're waking up at 5 a.m. to go just run. Sometimes there's no finish line. Not everything's a race. Not everything's a competition. It's just practice, and it's not fun. But I think there's a lot of things that running does that kids or even adults don't realize develop mental toughness. One of them is I'm waking up willingly or not willingly if my mom makes me, but I'm still doing it. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to run before any of the rest of these people in first period with me have even thought about waking up. Kids do not see the mental toughness that comes in that. Everybody knows teenagers can sleep till noon. We've got kids, they wake up at 5 a.m. and they go run. That right there is mental toughness, whether they ran their hardest or not. I think as an adult, one of the things that you have to learn how to do is wake up when you don't want to.
Go to work.
Go to work.
Take my
I
kid
mean,
to school.
right. That in itself is something that helped me in college. When I had 8 a.m. classes, I made it there. And it wasn't always because I had practice beforehand. So I wasn't always just already awake. It was this, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. for cross country practice.
So
Now
you're
I just,
sleeping in for an 8 o'clock college class.
right. Like this is, I didn't really grasp that until I saw my friends struggle to wake up and get to their 8 a.m. classes. And I was like, why is this such a big deal? But that's a piece of mental toughness that kids don't realize. That I think cross country coaches or parents of runners, we need to say, hey, I see you waking up early. I see you running all these miles before the first period bell even rings, because that's a hard thing to do. So that right there is a huge boost on mental toughness and resiliency. I think running without stopping is also generally just mental resiliency. So it doesn't matter how fast you run. I'm going to run for X amount of minutes. That develops mental resiliency. Yeah, I think that's something that we don't think about and talk about very much either. Just like I'm going to do something that is not pleasant and not fun for X amount of minutes. Develops mental resiliency. When we're talking about kids that are varsity level runners that are competing in a meet, that entire race, every step, they are thinking about, this is the role that I play on this team and I have to do it. And I have to beat this person. My race strategy is to be within 15 seconds of my teammate. I have to be the one to push and surge at the end to pull my teammate with me. I mean, your mind is not quiet when you're running. It is consistently running through. You have things that you're thinking about. This is what I have to accomplish. And you have to not only do those things so your team can be successful, but you also have to keep yourself mentally strong. Because as soon as the thoughts creep in of, I feel myself tiring out, or, oh, I see so-and-so and they're not where they're supposed to be, or I'm not sure, I rolled my ankle, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. As soon as those thoughts creep in, your whole agenda goes out the window. And so I think a big part of running is learning how to quiet those voices, quiet the voices that say that I can't, quiet the voices that tell me that I'm going to fail. It has to be this, just this cloud of positivity.
So it sounds like you kind of have to be your own coach at times, coaching yourself up, being with positive messages. I know one of the big things when we're a teenager or even sometimes as an adult is the negative things that we tell ourselves, the things that we feel like others tell us that we can't do this, or we're not capable of that, or we're not good enough. We're not fast enough, we're not tall enough, we're not good looking enough, whatever it is. And those things can be reinforcing to us that keeps us from accomplishing things as children or adults. And so what I'm hearing is the positive energy to push yourself through something teaches you to go through adversity in a way somebody that might not have gone through that experience doesn't know how to do. Does that sound like that's something that those runners are getting and able to do?
Yes. So even as an adult, we have negative self-talk. There are things that I catch myself going, oh, well, I can't do that. That's just not something that I can do. Or making an excuse for myself. And I think that I have been better set up for success with that, with being tougher mentally, because I had to learn at such a young age to block out the negative thoughts. Now, don't get me wrong. In high school, I was a mental head case. You can ask any one of my coaches. I could not, for the longest time, I could not block out every negative thing that came into my brain, and it would overwhelm me. And so the beginning stages of my cross country career, I actually was very inconsistent. I would run really well one race and couldn't tell you why. And I would run really terribly the next race, couldn't tell you why. But later on, hindsight's 2020, I realized that in this particular race, I was determined that I was going to medal. In this particular race, I thought the drive was too far on the bus, and I counted myself out from the beginning. And so that was something that I had to teach myself. My coaches helped teach me that. And I didn't really get truly mentally resilient until I was in college. So it takes a long time, but as coaches, I feel like that's one of our jobs. I feel like there's a lot of jobs that I have other than just winning cross country meets. It's how do I provide these kids with a skill where they can be successful adults. They can be successful professionals in the workplace. They can be successful parents. They can be successful first-time moms. These are things that I feel an immense amount of, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but I feel like I need to better prepare them for things like that.
When you're having those, I know you're thinking this when you're coaching them up. Do you actively tell them these things that, hey, these are things that are going to benefit you in the long run, or is it just something that happens organically over time? I'm just curious, as you kind of motivate them, as you kind of coach them up, how that works.
So I have these phrases that the kids make fun of me for saying so often, because I just make it a point to say them. So one of them that they hate is growth is growth, whether it's the growth you wanted or not. They hate that one because, we can't all you can't PR every single race. You cannot have the best race of your life every single race. That's just not going to happen.
So when you say PR, just for those non-runners,
sorry, yes.
Personal record, your best time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You cannot run your best time. You cannot have a personal record, a personal best. You can't even really have a season best every single race. It's just not possible. Your body's not capable of doing that. But before every race, we talk about what are the things that we need to get out of this. If it's really hot outside and it's 101 and we're racing in Belton, because it's always 101 when we race in Belton, we're not trying to get a PR. What are the 3 things that we need to accomplish? If we accomplish those 3 things, or even one of those 3 things, then we have growth. Some of us, I'm really big into goal setting. I'll make kids, think about what's our team goal. What is your goal? What's your goal for this race? What's your goal for this practice? If we're taking steps towards that goal, even if we don't meet the goal immediately, we have growth. So I say a lot of times growth is growth, whether it's the growth you wanted or not. I'm trying to think, what is the other thing that I say that they hate? Oh, the other thing I always tell them, is running as a community. I also tell them running is a lifelong sport. And that's to remind them that community is important. Even as an adult, community is extremely important. When I am not connected in my various communities, I feel lonely and isolated. And so as a kid, if they don't have a community, that gets even worse. And I think we're seeing that across the nation in terms of our school aged kids. So being a part of something, a community, is super important. So I say all the time, running is a community. And we try to create a community as such. And then I tell them that running is a lifelong sport. I know plenty of people that still, to this day, run with their friends. If they continue to do that as they get older, that would make me happy. But if that outlet is mountain biking or swimming or rec league basketball or whatever it is that you can do, as a lifelong sport to be healthy, I hope that I've created that little seed in their mind that they need that.
Shayla, you're saying some awesome things. I feel like, you'd be hosting this instead of me because some of the things that you're saying about the resilience, the toughness, are just so key to being, I guess, a healthy, hopeful adult. And I think some of the big things that I'm pulling out of what we're talking about is number one, like, it's very difficult to do hard things alone. Usually need to do that with other people if I'm going to be successful. Otherwise, my quit rate or failure rate is a lot higher. The other thing is I like the fact that growth is growth in the fact that sometimes I'm going to have an off day or there's an obstacle that I didn't overcome, but I'm going to be back again and get it done, the next day. The discipline and consistency that I'm hearing, I think in my line of work, working with mental health with folks, I think sometimes that's the hardest thing. Your goal could be, hey, I'm trying to do better with my anger, or it could be a parent trying to get their kid a new discipline technique or whatever they're doing. And the biggest thing sometimes is being consistent about any of it. And so, if I'm having to get up for cross country at 5 a.m. and show up and do something hard every day, then and I'm conditioned to do that at a young age as a student, then I'm going to be able to do basically hard things. I'm conditioned to do hard things for the rest of my life. And I'm going to have some good things that I can draw on that I don't even understand when I'm probably 14, 15, 16, but I will understand later when I'm 25, 35, 45.
It's a foundation.
Yeah, I love that. And I kind of feel bad for giving running a hard time all these years. As a basketball or baseball player, we would like, hey, that's not a real sport. Those aren't real athletes. They're just running in a circle on the track. I could do that too. And I think the deeper dive you go into it, you realize there's a lot more going on, and especially the cross country. And I've learned to love cross country because my daughter has embraced it and she loves it. But I don't think she had probably the same mindset I did when she didn't really want to go run cross country. She wanted to play volleyball. And when she was cut from the volleyball team, she discovered her love for cross country and a passion for it. And now she's an excellent runner in cross country. And I know her goal this year, she's trying to get under 5.5 minutes, which seems crazy. I don't even think I ever ran close to 6, much less anything like that. So the mental toughness and resilience that I see on runners in general is pretty inspiring. And I think for me personally too, I'm just excited to see that you're spreading that out there to other youth because it is tough out there. I guess just from an educator point of view, as we're kind of talking about going back to school here in a few weeks for kids, what do you feel like is probably the most mentally taxing thing that kids go through at school?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
I know that's kind of a off. I didn't prep you for that question, but
No, it's
I
all
really
right.
feel like you're a valuable resource for that.
Throwing me curveballs. Okay. So I'm gonna think about this from a seventh grader point of view because I teach seventh grade. Um, the things that I think are the most difficult for seventh graders are friendships. What does a good friendship look like? How am I a good friend? How do I deem someone a friend? In seventh grade, we also have relationships, romantic relationships. So, that's difficult. How do I have a relationship that's healthy as a seventh grader? How do I balance that with my friends? Because kids up through about that age, we all know they have their best friends and then insert significant other, and that makes it a little bit more tricky. The other thing that I personally see is seventh grade is when, how do I say this? When all of the opportunities become available for extracurricular activities.
Oh, sports, band, things like that.
Everything,
Yeah,
everything. So it is, what am I passionate about, which is difficult to ask a 12-year-old.
right.
What am I passionate about? Heaven forbid that I'm passionate in lots of things, because then you're being torn in all of the directions, which is totally fine. But you have to, like, how do I evenly distribute myself? And I think it's also really hard for kids who don't participate in any of those things. And that becomes a very isolated moment. So just from my perspective, seventh grade sets the foundation for who you're going to be as a high schooler. Because when you get to high school, you get pulled in more and more directions, and people start getting further and further away from each other. So then that's when you get like, oh, I'm an athlete, and I am in choir, and I am in band, and I am in etc. And though that can be difficult, that can be really challenging. And so I think that's one of the challenges of for our kids as well is being connected, and then getting into a community, staying in the community while still being balanced as far as healthy relationships and friends.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to give I think a sidebar to the friendships. I think you're absolutely right. I think friends are a big deal when we're kids, especially through middle school and high school. That kind of tell us, reflect back who we are, what our identity is. And as a parent, I want our kids to have good friends. And so, just a little plug for things like running. I think if you got kids getting up at 5 a.m. and running together and doing those kind of hard things together, more than likely that's going to be a pretty solid kid, or at least a kid that's willing to work on trying to better themselves and do some things. And also student athletes, they got a pass to go to these cross country track meets, so they're probably showing up in the classroom as well. So as a parent, encouraging that running with my kid or that activity, I think sets them up to be in a pretty good friend group, I would think.
Well, what I found very interesting about cross country is that I have the most kids that are in multiple, I don't want to call it events, activities. Like runners can be anything. So I've got kids that play football and run cross country. I have kids that are in band and run cross country. I have kids that are in ag, which in Troy, America is a really big deal. I have kids that are in ag and in cross country. I have kids that do flags for the band and the color guard that are in cross country. I have kids that play pretty much any sport you can think of that are also in cross country, because remember, everybody runs for a different reason, right? Um, and so I've got this really cool mix of people, which is interesting to watch. And it also creates a really unique community, because people that you would not normally see interact together, they do. And they end up forming these different kinds of relationships. And some of the relationships and friendships, they may last for the series of cross country season. And then they may go off and do something else in the fall or in the spring, and they come back in the fall and there they are again. And so it's kind of a cool little mix.
That is a cool mix. Shayla, I really appreciate you joining us today. I'm going to give you a chance to let you have the last word before I sign off. Is there anything that you want to leave us with, an encouragement, or tell us that would be helpful for those that are trying to stay mentally fit or resilient?
Don't give up. If you are going to start running or weightlifting or eating right or whatever it is, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be fun until you get into a routine. And once you get into a routine, you will finally step back, however many days or weeks that might be, and go, this is beneficial for my life. I think a lot of people take up running and they give up running before they even get to the beneficial part of it. So my piece of advice is if you pick up something new in the fitness world or just a lifestyle change, give it some weeks, some months, maybe even years for it to make a difference before you give it up.
I love that. And so I think consistency, routine, not giving up. I love that, especially if we're going to make a change that we need to make. Maybe even for our health, right? So some people, we have to make drastic changes sometimes to get healthier because maybe we're dealing with a health issue, pre-diabetic or anything like that. So we got to make these changes. Or maybe we're going through a difficult stretch with our mental health and depression. We're having to make a drastic change to get ourselves right. So I love that. Don't give up. I think that's great. We have enjoyed having Coach Rawls with us today, and we appreciate that. And thank you for everybody stopping by, checking out Muscular Minds. Make sure you hit our website up for any other podcasts and blogs, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining Muscular Minds today, where strength isn't measured by how much you lift, but who you lift up. And that starts with you.